Hey everybody, Steve Bogran here, Basic Fitness LLC, and today I wanted to talk about something that is very near and dear to my heart and my stomach, and that is intuitive eating. So, first and foremost, what is intuitive eating? Well, it's kind of self-explanatory, right? So, it is eating by intuition. Now, that sounds like a great idea, right? Like, hey, I'll just eat whenever I'm hungry. And for some people that works really well, but for a great majority of people that is a very difficult thing to do while still maintaining weight. And so in today's conversation we're going to talk about intuitive eating with the idea of weight maintenance in mind. So we're not necessarily trying to lose weight, we're not necessarily trying to gain weight, and so for today's purposes, let's just say that we want to maintain and keep our weight exactly where it's at, or at least within 1 to 2 pounds over or under. Things that drive your hunger signaling, right? There are a lot of hormones in your body that change dependent on body fat level percentages and your food intake that are going to drive hunger signaling. For anybody who has done a bodybuilding show and gotten down to very low body fat levels, you know that after the show you can eat a large meal and physically feel full but still want to eat more. Your brain is still telling you, let's go, let's keep eating, let's keep shoveling it in. This is one great example of how hunger signaling and feeling hungry can mess you up when it comes to intuitive eating. One way to help to get around this is to set yourself up with a preparatory period before you start actually doing your intuitive eating. That means tracking your macros, setting up meal times within regular intervals, and also setting up to where you're getting about the same volume of food at each meal. What that's going to do is it's going to help get you in a habit, right? So, you should be doing this while maintaining your weight. If what you are currently doing with your food intake and activity level has you gaining weight, then if you want to maintain, you need to make those changes first and get used to those habits. Now, that's not always going to do it for everybody, but it's a really good starting point. So make sure you're always hitting your fiber goals when you're getting into your prep for your intuitive eating, right? What that's going to do is it's going to give you a more volume of food, and it's going to help you feel full, and it's also going to help everything move through properly, right? Just like a lot of people tend to look at flexible dieting, and if it fits your macros as I can eat whatever I want, whenever I want, and tend to eat a lot of garbage foods, intuitive eating also does not allow for that. It simply isn't how the body works. So, when you're utilizing it, continue to eat good fibrous foods as well. Foods that are very nutrient dense. It's going to help you with your micronutrient goals as well. One of the other things that you have to remember is life is not in a box, right? We can't live in a box. So, with that in mind, intuitive eating is great for a lot of aspects. If you're like me and you're tracking and you're very, very anal about it, being within 5 grams above or below every single day, then sometimes that can be very mentally taxing, right? I probably prepped for about 10 out of 12 months for my last shows. I took a 2-month break after the first show, and then I started prepping again after that for the next 2. By the end of that, I was worn out, physically, mentally, just tired of the processes, right? Intuitive eating has given me a very great opportunity to take a break from that. My weight also still maintains between 1 to 2 pounds above or below. So everything's steady, right? I don't have to worry about how much food I get when I go out to eat at a restaurant, okay? I don't have to worry if I want to have a donut that's at the lab, or if my friend bought me a snack. So all these things I no longer have to worry about. For me, that preparatory period of training my hunger signaling and my appetite helps me to maintain while I go throughout my off season or my improvement season. I also don't have to worry about if I want to have a drink or if I want to go out with friends, right? I no longer have to specifically track all these things, and I can go out and have a good time and enjoy life to the fullest, right? Because that's really what having a productive and a successful diet is about. It's about weight maintenance at a lower weight while still enjoying all the things that we love about life. Now, keeping that in mind, I have tracked macros for a very long time. Like I said, I was very anal about it, within 5 grams above or below on all my macronutrient goals. That is how I believe that sets you up for a lot of success when it comes to intuitive eating. The reason being, even though I am intuitive eating and I'm not specifically tracking all my macros, when I look at a plate, I have a general concept of how much fat is going to be in that, how many carbs, and how much protein. So I have a very generalized idea of what I'm getting and still taking in. With that, I can now change to have a bigger or a smaller meal later in the day to accommodate whatever it was I ate in that sitting. I'm not just eating whatever I want to eat all the time. I have trained myself and I have enough experience with keeping calories and my macronutrient goals on track that I'm going to be able to be successful. Even though I am intuitive eating, I still know that I am getting around 400 grams of carbs a day. I know that I am getting around 180 grams of protein a day, etc., whatever your personal goals might be. I do not recommend that you start intuitive eating unless you have tracked your macros and you have a pretty good grasp on the concepts and the practice. The reason being because if you do not understand what is in your food, you cannot keep track of your food. You cannot estimate your food. And for me, being successful with intuitive eating is all about being good at estimating what is on your plate. Another thing that you can do that really helps out with that is cooking a lot of your own food. So if I say I want to have 100 grams of carbs post-workout, this is a pretty normal amount of carbs for me to have pre and post-workout. If I want pancakes, I can go look at my pancake nutritional label. I get 80 grams of carbs from my pancakes, cook those up, there we go. That gives me roughly around 20 grams of carbs left for whatever syrup I want to use. I can use real syrup, I can use sugar-free syrup, I can use low sugar syrup. Whatever the case may be, depending how much syrup I want. I personally like a lot of syrup, and I mean a lot of syrup, so I use sugar-free syrup that I can keep it in check. The main goal is to be consistent, right? Consistency brings success, whether it's in the gym or it's in the kitchen. So, when you're talking about weight maintenance, we are talking about consistency. I do recommend that you've done a good reverse diet, that you have upped your calories as high as you can to where you're comfortable with your body fat levels, and your performance is feeling good as well. But if you can manage to do those things, to be consistent, to maintain your weight, then intuitive eating really gives you a great opportunity to live a healthy, full life. It'll let you not worry about what's on the plate and not necessarily have to think about it all the time. A lot of people have issues with this. We become very anal, and it can sort of become its own eating disorder in tracking macros and staying at a certain leanness after a show. And so this gives us the opportunity to break from that. I know for me personally, it is very difficult for me to put on body fat after a show. I don't feel like I look as good, and I feel like a lot of other competitors also have the same issues. Intuitive eating gives me the opportunity to try and take myself out of that mentally, right? My weight still stays the same. I'm comfortable with where my weight is at and how I look. And I don't have to micromanage every single time that a meal is up. Hopefully that's enough advice to get you started, or at least give you an idea of whether or not you're ready to try out intuitive eating, or if it's something that would work for you. Until next week, guys, Steve Bogran, Bassic Fitness, LLC. Have a great one.